John Black, super chemist, JBSC. Now, who ended slavery? The right says the whites did it. The Christians say the whites stopped it. The left, which is the woke religion, they say the blacks basically stopped it themselves. What does a Pastafarian say? You don't bring up, because race has nothing to do with it. Color skin has nothing to do with it. No, the UK and the United States stopped it. Okay? Not white people. Okay? Saying white people all the time and black people all the time is crazy. Okay? Now I want you to think about this, right? This is what's funny is you always hear this 1619. There's always some crazy black guy. 1619, 1619. I hate to break the news to you, but in 1619, the United States did not exist. Okay? You're blaming the United States for something that happened literally, what, like more than 100 years, a century or two before the United States even existed? And you think that you're sane? You're not sane. You need mental help, man. If you're saying that slavery in 1619 had anything to do with the United States, when the United States didn't exist until 1776, you moron, you racist piece of shit. Okay? And the other thing I want you to think about, right? Okay, slavery has gone on since the beginning of time. It's in all the Bibles, the Quran, all the religions. You know, monks had slaves. Everyone had slaves that was rich, or, you know, and religious people were always rich. They all had slaves. The only people who didn't have slaves is the poor people and the middle class people and the regular people. Okay, but through time, slavery has been. All races have had just as many slaves as any other race, man. They're all just as equally crap. Okay, why? Because they're humans and humans are crap. Okay, irrelevant of what color their skin is, right? But what's funny is that, yes, most of the people that were in the UK and the Americans that actually went out into these boats to stop slavers from taking their boats of slaves to other countries and stuff were white. You know what I mean? But white people are they're the reason why slavery existed. You know, they're for it. And the other thing is think about it. The United States has actually enslaved less people than any country in the world. And you might say, oh, what are you talking about? Think about it. The Irish, yeah, first of all, there wasn't just black slaves. There were white slaves. There were Irish white slaves. There were Asian slaves in the United States back then. There were white, a lot, not as many Asian, but there were a lot of white slaves that were slaves. Because the King of England, you know what I mean, had slavery up until a certain point. And then when he did abolish slavery in the UK, all they did was they took all their white Irish slaves and they took them to America, sold them there. You know what I mean? But I want you to think about it. Did the United States or the Americas, did they enslave the white Irish people? No. They bought them. They were already enslaved by the people in the English. The English enslaved the Irish. Not that it makes a big difference, but it does make a big difference in a way. They didn't enslave those Irish people. I don't think they enslaved any Irish people. The same with the Asians. The Asian slaves that came over, they were already enslaved by the Asians. The Americans didn't enslave them. They were already enslaved. The same as the black people. Did you know that until slavery was abolished, a white man could not go into the interior of Africa? He would die. If he was lucky, he lived. You know, mostly he might live till 6 months and then he'd be dead. If he was very, 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 very lucky, maybe he'd make it a year. No one has ever went into the interior of Africa and lived, okay, as a white, because there was diseases. Just like when we came over to, you know, South America and we killed all the Aztecs because we had diseases that they weren't used to. Well, the same way with Africa. Africa had a bunch of diseases that we didn't have medication for it, and so we would die. So we never went in and enslaved. Plus, also, we would be killed. I mean, even though the Africans were, you know, didn't have guns and blah, 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 they still were a lot of them. You bring over a boat full of white people, they ain't going to outnumber the black Africans. And in Africa. They're not going to outnumber them. They're not going to go inside and just start willy-nilly taking black people as slaves, okay? So it was impossible because they would die. They know it. As you know, when white people went over, say, which I hate to say white people, the American people that went over and they picked up the African slaves, half of them died coming over. Not just half the black people died too, but half the white people died too because of these diseases and stuff like that. So the first black man who was enslaved in the Americas was enslaved by a black man. Other than that man, what is it? Maybe 5 people were enslaved by the the Americas or the United States. Maybe 5. Maybe I only know of one. Really, that first one. I don't know of any other ones. Right? Who enslaved the black people in Africa? Africans did. We just bought them. We didn't enslave anybody. We are actually the country that has enslaved people the least is the United States. But do we get credit for that? No. Do we get credit that they say England is the first country that, stopped slavery, you know what I mean? But that's not true. There was a state in the United States that stopped slavery before that. And you can say, well, that's a state, not a country. Well, state and country are actually synonyms. The United States of America is actually the United Countries of America. And your governor is actually the president of that country. You know what I mean? We just are so ingrained into this, this thing where we got a federal government, and we don't understand that these are actually countries. Each state is a country. And how do I know that? Because state and country are synonyms. They mean the damn same thing. So anyways, we, the United States, we were the first ones on the planet after thousands of years of slavery. We were the first ones to say, no, we abolish slavery. We go against the Bible. We go against the Quran. We go against slavery, and we don't want it. Okay? But the United States and the white people, they're all to blame. They're their whole reasons why slavery is here. But you hear these facts, and you're like, why? 1% of black people owned black people in the United States back in the slavery days, right? Only 15% of white people had it. And who gets blamed for it? The white people. What does every slaver have in common from the beginning of time? Like everyone who owned slaves, what do they have in common? Obviously, it's not skin color, because we know all skin colors have had slaves and blah, blah, blah. What do they all have in common? There's only one thing that every single goddamn person who owned another person legally, the thing that was common, they were all rich. They were all elite. But do we blame the 100% of all people enslaved people were elite, rich people, 100%. But do we blame the rich elites or do we blame the 15%? We don't blame the 1%, the blacks that had slaves. We don't blame the 1% of the Asians that had slaves. We don't blame the rich people who were 100% guilty. We blame the 15%, the white people, because 15% of them had slaves. So obviously it's their fault, not the elites who were 100% of them. 100% of the slavers were rich elites. But we don't blame them. And then you wonder why don't no one else but me, why don't we blame who's responsible, the 100%? Why do we blame the 15%? And then you think, well, who approved the books that teaches slavery in the colleges and in the public schools? Who approves them? Huh? Could it actually be rich people? The elites? But I'm the moron. I'm the idiot. No one will agree with me. You'll agree with the right? The whites stopped the slavery and the whites did this, and blacks, black, white, black. You'll believe the left? Oh, blacks, whites. But me, who doesn't even bring up freaking color of skin and talks about 100% fault instead of 15% fault. I'm an idiot. No one will agree with me. I'm the moron. Let's see how much time we got here. We have 4.5 minutes. But I could give you so many more facts and data that shows that everyone else is an idiot, and I'm the only person that apparently is not a racist piece of shit that has to attach every goddamn thing in life to skin color, even though we all know that skin color does not denote anything. It doesn't denote morality. It doesn't denote your values. It doesn't do anything. It just makes you either more attractive or less attractive to the opposite sex. That's the only thing skin color is for. Is basically, other than that, it has no meaning. None. But everyone has to, I'm going to get into why that is the why it is, because they just want to divide us. The rich can only make money if the poor and the middle class are fighting over something. They can only say, give me money so I can fix this problem if there's a problem. Right? If there's not a monster and there's not a problem, then why would you give them money? Why would you give the rich elites money? So they need a monster. They need a problem. They need to divide us all so that we're all arguing, please fix this problem for us. Please, hey, you people that were fully 100% responsible for slavery and racism, can you please, we're all divided now. Can you help us? Instead of the people saying, maybe the division should be between the elites that fucking think this kind of way where they can just control everybody. And they're right, they do. They control everybody. I sit back and I laugh, or I cry, really, because I have to endure living on a planet where everyone cares about what the elite want, and everyone cares about this fictitious monster that never, ever exists. Just like, what did Bush do with what was his monster? They're doing nuclear weapons in Iran. And then they go in there and what? There's no nuclear weapons. You know what I mean? There's always a monster. They make a monster, and then we all join forces to fight the monster. But how do we fight the monster? We give our money to the elite, to the government, our taxes. We pay them. We pay them. We don't even just pay them. We pay them and we beg them. Please help us from this monster. We're so afraid this monster's going to get us. If everyone would just realize that the monster doesn't exist, you wouldn't have to be miserable. You wouldn't have to give up all your money and taxes. And, people don't even understand how much taxes they pay. They think they pay 10% in taxes. They think they pay 20% and they get 10% back when they file. No. You have cigarette tax that you don't even see. You have gas tax you don't even see. And then on top of that, when you buy your cigarettes and you pay your $2 in taxes that you don't even know about, then on top of that, they charge you sales tax. Same way with the gas. You got a gas tax that's put right into the price of the gas that you don't even know about. Then you got sales tax on top of it. Do you understand that you're working 12 months out of the year, and you're only getting like 9 months of work? The other 3 months is just given to the government to help fight these, not to make roads and make cops. No, to fight monsters that don't exist. So if I don't know what else to put. I have 100 million things I could say about slavery and this and that, but it's just a ridiculous, especially since it happened 2 centuries ago, or 160 years ago. And another thing is that if you think about it, in the United States, we only had slavery for what? 100 years? 1776 to 1886? 100 years. All countries had it for the beginning of time, and yet we got rid of it within a lousy goddamn 100 years. We abolished it. But do we get credit for that? No, we do not get credit for that.